Hi there, fellow insecure overachievers. Or who else would be attending a TEDx conference? People with a curious drive, high ambition, novelty-seeking, maybe even attention-seeking, and a cheerfulness to the bone, yeah. However, some of you may still sense a feeling of insecurity deep inside. Do you ask yourself, am I loved because of what I am or just because of what I do? Obviously. So, if the answer is yes, then keep on working and take on as much responsibility as you can. Keep on burning. I have to make a confession here. I could be my own patient in my own clinic. So, welcome to a new hospital having opened up in a 900-year-old monastery in Diesen at Lake Ammer near Munich. Me, I'm a doctor, a medical doctor, a professor for psychiatry, psychosomatic medicine, and psychotherapy. With my co-founder and co-author, Timo Schiele, our leading psychologist, and a bunch of other great people, we've been developing an inpatient psychotherapeutic hospital with now more than 120 employees for almost 100 patients. And we all did that from scratch. So after 3 years of incredible hard work, both inspiring and challenging, Timo and I have found out two things for ourselves. First, that we see a new type of patients with a new type of exhaustion pathology that hasn't been known before. And second, that the two of us resemble our patients more than we'd like to admit. So, by now, most of us know about the risk to burn out. That means to suffer from an acute exhaustion depression culminating into a nervous breakdown, both mentally and physically. It has become sort of a common sense to be stressed out. It has become social form to work on the border of this type of nervous breakdown. Anybody out here who hasn't been down that road yet? No? What's wrong with you? So many of us still think to burn for our careers is a good idea. Any water at hand? Need a glass of water? To surf on the verge of an acute burnout means maybe to push the limits of our own productivity, maybe with great success, but also for a dangerous price. By this, we're actually cultivating a new form of chronic and hidden exhaustion depression that we call burn on. Here are some facts. Work-related diseases have shifted from physical to mental, since we all work mostly with our minds nowadays in societies like ours. There are three phenomena, according to the World Health Organization, that relate to that. First, chronic negative stress has increased immensely. Second, depression is about to become the biggest medical burden of all. And third, work-related mental diseases are on the rise, with a growing number in absenteeism and early retirement. There is obviously a shift from burnout to burn on, since we all try to avoid a complete nervous breakdown. And we do that desperately by keep on working. So let's get back to the hospital. How do those burn-on patients present? They arrive after having worked overnight and overtime until the very moment they arrive at the hospital. They're tired and exhausted, but they want to start with therapy right away. They want the maximum treatment in the shortest amount of time with ultimate results, of course. And they devote everything to the work mode, like even sports, hobbies, and meditation. And that's how they also approach psychotherapy, as another task to work away. They say, give me the best therapy, the perfect therapist, and they're willing to be the perfect patient in return. Don't get me wrong, those patients are pleasant, but they are very demanding too. They love challenges, but they also are a challenge, at least to us. So here's an imagery that might help to understand what's going on here. Imagine sinking into a deep split. That might be tense and painful, but you keep on smiling like a circus artist. Everybody's cheering you up because you're doing a great job. But stretching yourself to the limits is all you can, all you do, all you have, all you are. And then you don't notice that things around you are actually falling apart in a way. You don't notice the abyss that has opened up below you. You're stuck in a rigid position between two poles, painfully in tension and without being able to move at all. To be stuck and torn between two poles, this is how we have conceptualized the symptomatology of our syndrome. What is this syndrome about? It's the pathological tension shows on 3 levels. Cognitively, these patients are hyper-alert, hyper-cognitive, hyper-focused, but on the other hand, they experience a lot of lack of concentration, generally leading into mindlessness. Emotionally, they are they seem to be joyful and optimistic, while deep inside they're actually depressed. There's despair behind a rigid mask of positivism. And behaviorally, they seem to be energetic. They're hyperactive, however, they sense an errant paralysis. They do so much, but they feel like they're not getting done anything at all. And finally, the pathological tension actually reaches the body. And it's not only the muscles of the limbs that get tight, but also the vessels. They get rigid and they can get hypertensive. And with the hypertension, you can develop a heart attack or even a stroke. So a burn-on can be deadly. I'm sorry, I'm serious. I don't want to be a downer. Burn-on can be deadly. To fundamentally neglect the needs of your body, soul, and mind is an existential mistake while optimizing yourself on and on and on. It's the opposite of what we consider to be mindfulness. And with the rise and the success of the mindfulness concept, and with Generation Z being on the rise, questioning our lifestyles, work styles, or values, we might already see a counter-reaction to what's going on. But until then, we ask ourselves, of course, what can we do about it? Can we treat it? Of course we can. We started with that in our hospital. So foremost, these patients have to be forced into being thrown upon themselves and to decelerate, which is quite painful. They have to rip off their masks of forced optimism to actually face their depression. We help them to get back in touch with their emotions, with their physical needs. That is very important, and we don't only use verbal techniques, but also non-verbal psychotherapy, just as art, music, and dance therapy, nature, and animal-assisted therapy, to help them with that. And that's just to mention a few. Moreover, we have to help them to readjust their values, to clarify them, the values that give their lives meaning and direction, and use them as a compass for future goals. And finally, with the inner scopes they develop within psychotherapy, the inner freedom, we have to endow them with something that helps them to integrate freedom into their everyday routines and rituals. Therapy like that is not a walk in the park, you can imagine. And I hope you are not in need of therapy yet. So at the end, let me tell you 3 more little pieces of advice or ideas that might help to prevent burn-on. And they might surprise you. Forget about work-life balance. If work doesn't work for you as a great part of your life, what are you doing? Create human reserves within yourself and in your life, spaces, times, and situations where you just can be yourself and with others without any purpose. And finally, try to stop the fire without losing your passion. It's up to you if you want to keep on burning. I'd rather recommend find and keep your flow. Thank you.